fourth and final section of the men's steeplechase off and running.
All righty, the final section of the
Once again,
men's steeplechase underway, and we're very fortunate to have someone who has run this event more than just once, which is what I've done. Tom Slosky, the assistant coach from Duquesne University, joining us here for the hot heat of the men's steeple. Tom, thanks for coming up. I appreciate you taking time out of your day.
Phil, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. What a great opportunity here we get to watch the 3000m steeplechase here at Bucknell University.
Now, Tom, when you're grooming somebody or trying to select somebody to run the steeplechase, what are you looking for?
You know, the big thing I'm looking for with the steeplechaser is aggressiveness. If there's somebody that can hurdle as well, both left and right, lead leg, I think that's the best thing what you're looking for.
Now, did you, coming out of Highlands High School, obviously a distance runner, ran everything from the 8 to the 3200, did you have any hurdling experience at all before you went to Duquesne and experienced the steeple for the first time?
I did not. We did do some hurdle mobility that definitely made the jump to the steeplechase, but I was more focused on the 800, the 1632, but not a bad transition with Coach Jim Lear, current head coach at Duquesne University.
Speaking of transition, that I've been talking about, the transition from the water onto the flat after you hit that jump. Tell me about how you learn that, or how it's coached about, again, trying to land with one leg, not a 2-foot landing. As you get tired, that's going to develop. But how do you try to teach that, the important things of getting in and out of the water pit?
Back to what we were talking about before, being aggressive. If you have a student athlete that comes in and is a little afraid of the water, I think that's one of the worst things that you could do. I think if you teach an athlete to run through the water instead of just hopping into it, I think that's the biggest thing. That's what I've noticed that top-tier steeplechasers do. They attack that barrier, even though there's water and you have the slight slant in the water pit. I think if you have the kid sit there and be aggressive, really attack it, that's the best case scenario you have.
All right, Jason Weitzel from Concord right now in the lead. He is, I think, in number 14 in the country. He's run 9:14. Tom, you ran 8:43 as earning All-American citation at Duquesne back in 2007. Was it an ideal day for the steeple? You remember back on that race? Like, today seems like an ideal day to run the steeplechase.
Yeah, you know what? It reminds me very much of the weather. We were out on the West Coast, so not as much humidity as today, but definitely opportunities here. And it looks like a great field out there. I'm really impressed with some of the Penn guys right up front. I think they're definitely going to do some damage today, so I think they'll probably in the next K or so probably make a move. The coach there at Penn in the past couple of years who just took over a couple of years, I was saying. Definitely think those guys are going to make the move. And that's the one thing with the steeplechase. You can be a little patient. You don't have to get up front and really press the pace. You can wait to the last K. That's something I was taught. Because once you get into getting some pain, it's really hard to get those barriers start getting a little higher and higher.
That's what I said. It looks like the barriers get higher and the pit gets longer than 12 feet. Again, we're working lap 3 now of the barriers. Again, your mindset when you were running the steeple and coaching the steeple, what are you telling your athletes? Again, it depends on each athlete and what their skill level is.
Yeah, the one thing I try to tell them is one barrier at a time. Obviously, it sounds a little corny, but the reality is those 35 barriers, you hit 10, 12, 13. And obviously, you don't want to count them out, but in your back of your mind, you're like, okay, how many more barriers do I got to go? Sometimes it's not. You're not really thinking as much laps. It's more of the barriers.
All right, number 6. That's William Daly from Penn in the lead. His teammate Colin Daly right next to him. Obviously, brothers. Did you ever have the opportunity to have a teammate there that you sort of could go back and forth and get the feel of things?
I did. I was very fortunate. A gentleman from New Hampshire, a man by the name of Derek Dutel, him and I were racing in college. He was a year behind me. He was an 850 steeplechase. I think he just missed nationals his senior year. It was wonderful to have. And I think, too, the two individuals up front from Penn, training with somebody, the big thing is you don't always get to see the barriers well when you're in that big group patch. So they have the opportunity to get to do that in practice, plus being together, partnering up. I think the mental aspect of that makes it a lot easier.
And I had mentioned it earlier about spacing. So at the beginning of the race, let's say you had 18 scheduled to run this. How aware are you of where everybody else is, either beside you, around you, front or back? Because again, if you hit that, it doesn't move, you do.
Exactly, and I think that's where, between the hurdles, you do the best that you can, getting a little bit spacing, but the reality is when you're coming up, everybody's getting a little bit aggressive. As you can see in front, they sped up a little bit. You just have to kind of, use those bows, as I would say, use the little elbow action to make sure that you have your own space is the best case scenario for the individuals.
Noah Affolder from Syracuse joining the leaders up front from Penn. You talked about the speeding up. It's almost a little bit about like throwing surges in during a flat race.
Exactly, and because the big thing too, you got to take in consideration, even though there's 35 barriers with 7 water pits, you're running a lot on flat land. I think people don't take that into consideration. They're overly concerned about the barriers, but if you're running flat,
2 weeks ago,
the flat aspects of the race, just being aggressive, as you can see right there, great hurdling by the Penn guys. Make sure we point that out, but yeah, I definitely think that's all that together makes a good steeplechase.
Now, again, speaking of hurdling form, I saw in one of the earlier races where sort of the athlete was almost kind of like tucking his leg, and I've seen that a lot from the Kenyans where they're not true out front like a hurdler reaching out for that lead leg. They just sort of tuck it and almost kind of sit on it. Is that a technique, or is that just the way they clear the barriers?
Currently I coach a couple 400 hurdlers, and we talk about that, like how important it is with aspects of form, but really it's getting the lead leg over as quick as possible, landing down, getting that trail leg, as soon as you get that leg, or your front leg down, your lead leg, sorry about that, and then you get your trail leg. That's really the big thing. It doesn't matter how it looks in the air as long as you get down quick enough.
And speaking of down quick enough, Noah Affolder now with on the next to the last lap has built himself about a 10 to 12 meter cushion. Just cleared the second barrier on this lap 6. You're out there, you're sort of in no man's land, either coaching it or running it. What thoughts are going through your mind in this position for Noah?
For Noah, right now, he's got to keep pressing because those guys behind him, obviously, the barriers to them are probably getting a little bit bigger for them because he's getting a little bit tired. If he sits there and holds that lead and keeps pressing, that's going to be the difference for him. It's going to really be hard to come back from that. So I think he's got the right mentality. Actually, Baratot from Edinburgh,
right?
Yeah, he's moving up pretty well, and he's a pretty aggressive runner in the PSAC in Division 2. And I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps moving up well like he is. So I wouldn't count him out, to say the least.
I mentioned Gene Baratot earlier. He is about 20 meters behind Noah Affolder right now. 1 to go, 7:45 on the clock. Which of these barriers is most important on this last lap? Is it the water jump?
You know what? I would say I would agree with you on the water jump, because one of the things that you start doing is you get up to that water barrier, and obviously you only have about a little less than 150 meters to go, but you still got to be aggressive. Obviously, a lot of those guys, they want to just get it done and over with, but I think that's where the biggest moves can be made, actually, at the water barrier.
I don't know if Gene Baratot has enough track left. His turnover looks a little quicker than Noah Affolder. The lead's down to about 15. Affolder over the next to last flat barrier, and now they come up to the water jump for the last time, taking a good look at it, picking up some speed. He's got a clean look. Noah Affolder from Syracuse up and over through the barrier, and it looks like he's going to pick up the win. Tom, tell me just what impressed you about when he made the move and his effort today from Noah Affolder.
When he did make the move, he made it stick. He didn't sit there and just take over the lead and just let the other guy suck off him. What he did there is he made an aggressive move and put the surge down, and nobody went, and that's the biggest thing. Not going with that surge made the difference today for the win versus you got the 2 Penn guys and also Edinburgh athletes. So obviously he did a great job and very impressive today.
8:51 and change for Noah Affolder, a real good time. And obviously this is the time of year, I had mentioned it, about when athletes and coaches are looking for either the qualifying time or the qualifying placement. Tell me about the Duquesne schedule coming up and the big meets after this weekend that you guys have on your schedule.
Actually, we're going to keep it a little bit low key. For the next 2 meets, we're going to go to Bucknell University again, so we'll be back here for the team challenge, and we'll be at St. Francis, and then we'll be at the Langton Championship and right outside of DC with George Mason University. Then we'll be at the prestigious IC4 AECAC Championship, which is a Saturday-Sunday race. It used to be a 3-day race, but now
Okay.
it's actually going to go to 2, and then hopefully some regional qualifiers, and God willing, maybe some national qualifiers.
Very good. Tell me about training and such coming up to this event here at Bucknell. Were your athletes training through, or did they maybe have an easier day on Friday than they normally would?
No, we just got back from William Mary Saturday night, and we had some really good things happening for us there, so we decided to back off a little bit, just a little bit this week, because one, Bucknell's Distant Classic